Hello and welcome to English in Advance. I'm Jennifer, and I am so glad you have decided to join me today for a topic that is incredibly important for every English learner: speaking fluently without pausing. This is a goal that many of us dream of: to have conversations where our words flow smoothly and naturally, just like a river. But the reality for many learners is quite different. The reality is filled with hesitation, with awkward silences, with those frustrating moments where your brain feels like it has frozen solid. You know what you want to say. The idea is crystal clear in your mind. But when you open your mouth, there's a gap, there's a pause. You might search for a word, struggle with a grammar rule, or simply lose your confidence. These pauses can make us feel insecure and break the rhythm of a conversation. Today, we are going to change that. This is not just a lesson. This is a deep dive, a complete guide to understanding why you pause and, more importantly, a collection of powerful, practical strategies to overcome it. We are going to transform your speech from a series of disconnected words into a continuous, confident stream of communication. We will explore the very roots of hesitation, the mental habits that hold us back. Then, we will build a new foundation, one based on thinking directly in English. We will learn the secrets of connected speech, the tools that native speakers use unconsciously to bridge their thoughts and create that seamless flow. We will talk about practice methods that actually work, methods that will train your brain and your mouth to work together in perfect harmony. And finally, we will talk about the most important element of all: the mindset, the confidence to embrace imperfection and prioritize communication above all else. So, find a comfortable spot, relax, and get ready. By the end of our time together, you will have a clear roadmap to becoming a more fluent, confident, and unstoppable English speaker. Let's begin this journey together. First, we must understand the enemy. Before we can build a new fluent way of speaking, we need to carefully examine the old habits that are causing the problem. Why do we pause? It's not because you are not smart enough or because you haven't studied enough. The reasons are usually very specific mental processes that are happening just below the surface. Let's shine a light on them. The single biggest reason for pausing, the one that affects almost every single learner at some point, is the mental translation block. Imagine you are trying to bake a cake. You have a recipe written in your native language, and you have all the ingredients for an English cake in front of you. What the mental translator does is read one instruction in your language. For example, add 2 eggs. Then it stops. It thinks, okay, how do I say add? It searches its memory. Add. Okay, how do I say two? Two? Okay, eggs, eggs. Then it puts them together. Add 2 eggs. Then it goes back to the recipe for the next instruction. This is exactly what happens in your brain during a conversation. You form a complete, perfect sentence in your native language. Then you begin the slow, painful process of translating it piece by piece into English. Each word requires a mental search. Each phrase structure needs to be converted. This is not a conversation. This is a construction project. And every time you have to look for a new piece, you pause. The entire flow of communication stops. The person you are talking to is left waiting while you build your next sentence. This is why you might feel slow, or why your speech sounds unnatural and choppy. Native English speakers don't do this. They don't have a blueprint in another language. The thought itself is born in English. Our goal is to get you to that point. Another major cause of those awkward silences is what I call the vocabulary search. This is that moment when you are in the middle of a sentence and you need a specific word, but it's just out of reach. It feels like the word is on the tip of your tongue. You can almost taste it, but you can't quite grab it. So you stop. You might say something like, I went to the museum and saw a beautiful. And in that silence, your brain is frantically flipping through its internal dictionary, searching for the perfect word. Maybe you're looking for the word sculpture. But because you have decided that sculpture is the only word that will work, your entire sentence is held hostage until you find it. This desire for the perfect word is often a trap. We believe that using a more advanced or precise word will make us sound more intelligent. But in reality, the long, awkward pause you take to find that word is far more damaging to the conversation's flow than using a simpler alternative would have been. A fluent speaker who says, I saw a beautiful piece of art made of stone, communicates more effectively than a hesitant speaker who says, I saw a beautiful sculpture. The search for perfection leads to paralysis. Closely related to the vocabulary search is the grammar perfection trap. This is the constant fear of making a mistake. As you are speaking, a part of your brain is acting like a strict grammar teacher. You start a sentence, yesterday I go to the store. And immediately, that inner teacher screams, no, wrong. It should be went. Past tense. So you stop. You correct yourself. Yesterday I went into the store. This self-correction, while good for accuracy in writing, is a killer of fluency in speaking. You are trying to speak and edit at the same time. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. If you constantly stop to think about the exact angle of your foot on the pedal, the precise distribution of your weight, and the physics of balance, you will fall over. You learn to ride by just doing it, by feeling the motion and letting your body make tiny, automatic adjustments. Speaking is the same. Fluent speakers make grammar mistakes all the time. The difference is, they usually don't stop. They keep the conversation moving forward. The obsession with being 100% grammatically correct in real-time conversation is a huge source of hesitation. It forces you to overanalyze every single choice of tense, every preposition, every article, and this analysis takes time. It creates pauses. Finally, let's talk about the confidence crisis. This is the emotional psychological barrier. You might know the vocabulary, you might understand the grammar, but when you are face to face with another person, fear takes over. You worry about your accent. You worry that people will judge you. You worry that you will sound foolish. This anxiety has a physical effect. Your heart rate might increase. Your breathing can become shallow. Your mind goes blank. It's a fight or flight response. And in that moment, your brain isn't focused on producing language. It's focused on perceived danger. This self-consciousness causes you to freeze. You become so afraid of saying the wrong thing that you end up saying nothing at all. Every pause is filled with a silent scream of self-doubt. Breaking free from this requires more than just language practice. It requires building a new, more confident relationship with your English-speaking self. So, we have translation, vocabulary searching, grammar perfectionism, and a lack of confidence. These are the 4 main reasons we pause. Now that we have identified them, we can begin the work of dismantling them one by one and building a new way of speaking. The ultimate solution, the goal that will solve most of these problems at once, is to learn to think directly in English. This might sound like a huge, impossible task, but it's not. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned through small, consistent steps. The idea is to bypass the translation process completely. When you want to express an idea, it should form in your mind in English from the very beginning. This eliminates the main cause of pausing and hesitation. It's the difference between building a car from 1,000 tiny parts every time you want to drive and simply getting into a fully assembled car and turning the key. So, how do we start building this skill? We start small. We start with a technique I call the internal monologue. This is the conversation you have with yourself inside your head all day long. Right now, that conversation is probably happening in your native language. We are going to consciously switch it to English. You don't need a partner. You don't need to be in a classroom. You can do this anywhere, anytime. Let's walk through it. When you wake up in the morning, start describing your reality in simple English sentences in your head. For example, you open your eyes. You think, I am awake now. The room is a little dark. I can see the window. You get out of bed. I am getting out of bed. My feet are on the floor. The floor is cold. You walk to the bathroom. I am walking to the bathroom. I need to brush my teeth. Here's my toothbrush. Here's the toothpaste. This might feel silly at first. The sentences are incredibly simple, but that's the point. We are not trying to write a novel. We are building new neural pathways. We are creating a habit of associating your direct experience with the English language, not with your native language. As you get more comfortable, you can expand this internal monologue. Instead of just describing objects and actions, start describing your thoughts and feelings. I feel hungry. I think I will make some coffee. I hope it's a sunny day today. I have a meeting at 10 o'clock. I need to prepare for it. You are essentially narrating your life's movie to yourself, with you as the main character. The key here is consistency. Try to do this for just 5 minutes a day, then 10, then whenever you remember throughout the day. You're washing the dishes. I am washing the dishes. The water is warm. This plate is dirty. You're waiting for a bus. I am waiting for the bus. There are many people here. That bus looks crowded. By doing this, you are forcing your brain to access English vocabulary and simple sentence structures automatically, without the intermediate step of translation. This is the first and most crucial step to thinking directly in English. Another fun and powerful exercise to build these direct English connections is the word association game. This helps break the habit of searching for that one perfect word and instead encourages your brain to make rapid connections within English itself. Here's how you do it. Look at an object in your room. Say, a lamp. The first word is lamp. Now, what's the first English word that comes to mind when you think of lamp? Maybe it's light. Okay. Now, what does light make you think of? Maybe sun. What does sun make you think of? Sky. Sky. Blue. Blue. Ocean. Ocean. Water. Water. Drink. In just a few seconds, you've created a chain: lamp, light, sun, sky, blue, ocean, water, drink. You didn't translate anything. You simply followed a trail of associations within the English language. This trains your brain to be more flexible and quick. It teaches you that there are many connected pathways between words. So if you can't find one word, you can easily find a related one. Play this game for a few minutes every day. You can do it in your head while walking down the street, or say the words out loud when you're alone. It's a mental workout for English fluency. To reinforce this, you can start actively labeling your world in English. As you go about your day, mentally attach an English label to everything you see. As you sit at your desk, you think computer, screen, keyboard, mouse, mug, pen, notebook, window. When you walk outside, you think tree, car, building, street, sidewalk, sky, cloud, person. This seems incredibly basic, but its effect is profound. You are making the English words for things a part of your immediate reality. The word chair is no longer just a translation of the word in your native language. It becomes directly linked to the physical object you sit on. This constant, low effort repetition builds a strong, immediate connection between the world around you and your English vocabulary, making those words much easier and faster to retrieve in a conversation. You won't have to pause and search for the word for chair because you've been mentally touching it with its English name all day long. These techniques, the internal monologue, word association, and labeling, are the foundation. They retrain your brain to operate in English mode. It takes time and it takes practice, but it's the most effective way to eliminate the root cause of hesitation. You are moving from being a translator to being a thinker in English. And once that shift begins, the path to fluent, flowing speech becomes much, much clearer. Now that we are working on the core problem by learning to think in English, let's talk about building a bridge. Sometimes, even with the best preparation, you will still need a moment to think. This is normal. Even native speakers pause to gather their thoughts. The secret is that they don't do it in silence. They use special tools to bridge the gaps, making their speech sound smooth and continuous even when they are thinking. We are going to learn these tools. The first set of tools is often misunderstood. They are called filler words, but I prefer to call them thinking sounds or discourse markers. Many learners are taught that words like and are bad and should be avoided. And while it's true that overusing them can be distracting, the reality is that everyone uses them. The key is to expand your toolkit beyond just and and learn to use more sophisticated fillers that sound more natural and give you more time. Think of these words as little bridges. They connect your last thought to your next one, and they signal to the listener that you are still talking. You are just processing. Let's look at some of the most useful ones. A great one is well dot dot. Starting a sentence with well dot dot is a fantastic way to give yourself a second or two to formulate your response. Someone asks you, "What do you think of the new policy?" Instead of a silent pause, you can start with, "Well," and that gentle opening gives your brain a head start. Another incredibly common one is you know. You can use this in the middle of a sentence when you're trying to explain something or find the right word. For example, I went to this restaurant and it had, you know, a really great atmosphere. That little phrase, you know, fills the space, keeps the listener engaged, and gives you a moment to think of the word atmosphere. I mean, is similar. It's often used to clarify or rephrase a thought. He's very direct. I mean, he always says exactly what he thinks. That I mean signals that you're about to add more detail or explain your previous statement in a different way, and it perfectly covers the gap while you organize that next thought. If you need a bit more time, you can use a longer phrase like let me see or let me think about that for a moment. This is a very polite and natural way to announce that you need to think without just going silent. Someone asks a difficult question, and you can respond. Hmm, that's a good question. Let me see. Other fantastic options include actually, basically, and the thing is, actually, is great for correcting or adding surprise and information. Basically, is for summarizing a main point. The thing is perfect for introducing a problem or a key piece of information. Each of these buys you precious thinking time, while also adding meaning and structure to your speech. Let's practice. I'll ask you a question, and I want you to try to start your answer out loud using one of these fillers. The question is, what is your favorite movie and why? You could start with, well, my favorite movie is, or, let me think. I guess I would have to say. Or, the thing is, I have so many favorite movies, but one that I really love is. Do you see how that feels so much smoother than just silence? These are not crutches. They are professional tools for fluent speech. The next major technique for creating smooth speech is chunking. This is a game changer. Fluent speakers do not think in single or individual words. Their brains process and produce language in groups of words or chunks. These are phrases and collocations that naturally go together. When you learn to speak in chunks, you reduce your mental workload significantly. Instead of having to choose 5 separate words to make a phrase, your brain only has to choose one chunk. Let me give you some examples of common chunks. On the other hand, as far as I'm concerned, to be honest, at the end of the day, first of all, what I'm trying to say is, I'm looking forward to. It depends on, in my opinion. Let's take the chunk as far as I'm concerned. If you have practiced this chunk so much that it's automatic, when you want to give your opinion, your brain doesn't have to think as far as I'm concerned. It just retrieves one single unit of sound and meaning. This frees up your mental energy to think about the next chunk you want to say. Your mission is to become a chunk collector. When you listen to English or read in English, pay attention to these groups of words that seem to always appear together. Write them down in a special notebook, your chunk book. Then practice them. Say them out loud. Create your own sentences using them. For example, take the chunk, I'm looking forward to. Practice it. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward to the new project. The more you practice these chunks, the more they will become an automatic part of your spoken English. Speaking in chunks is like having prefabricated sections of a bridge. Instead of laying down one plank at a time, you can lay down an entire section at once, making the construction of your sentences much faster and smoother. Finally, to truly sound fluent and natural, you must master connected speech, or linking sounds. In written English, words are separate. I am in a room. 4 separate words. But in spoken English, these words flow together. A native speaker would say something that sounds more like I am in a room. The words are linked. This is one of the biggest reasons why you might have trouble understanding native speakers. And it's also why your own speech might sound robotic or choppy if you pronounce every single word separately. There are a few main rules for linking. The first is connecting a consonant sound to a vowel sound. When a word ends in a consonant and the next word starts with a vowel, you should connect them as if they were one word. For example, turn off. The N in turn connects to the O in off, so it sounds like turn off. Another example, an apple. It sounds like a napple. Read it sounds like rea dit. Practice these. Pick it up becomes pai tup. Tell us becomes telus. The second rule is connecting a vowel sound to another vowel sound. When one word ends in a vowel and the next word begins with a vowel, native speakers often insert a tiny W or Y sound to link them smoothly. For example, in the phrase go out, the O in go flows into the O in out. To make this smooth, a small W sound is inserted, go out. In I am, a small I sound is inserted, I am. Practice these. You are becomes you are. He is becomes he I is. The third rule involves connecting two consonant sounds. Sometimes, when a word ends with a consonant sound and the next word starts with the same or a very similar consonant sound, that you don't pronounce it twice, you just hold the sound for a moment and then release it into the second word. For example, in good day, you don't say good da day, you say good day. The D sound is merged. In black cat, you don't say black coo cat, you say blah cat. Mastering these linking sounds will have a massive impact on your fluency. Your speech will sound more natural, more fluid, and more like a native speaker. It also makes speaking physically easier because your mouth doesn't have to stop and start for every single word. It can move in a more continuous, rhythmic way. Start listening for these links in movies and songs, and practice imitating them. It will feel strange at first, but it is a vital part of building a bridge to smooth, uninterrupted speech. We have explored the mindset and the tools. Now, it's time to get to work. Theory is important, but fluency is built through active, consistent practice. You need to create a training ground for yourself where you can apply these techniques and build your speaking muscles. Let's discuss some of the most effective, active strategies for real-world fluency. One of the most powerful techniques is called shadowing. Shadowing is like being an echo. The process is simple. You listen to a recording of a native English speaker, and you speak along with them at the same time, trying to copy them as closely as possible. You are not just repeating the words, you are trying to match their rhythm, their intonation, their linking sounds, and their pauses. This is an incredibly effective workout for your mouth and your brain. Here's how to do it properly. First, choose a short audio clip, maybe 30 seconds to a minute long. It could be from a podcast, an audiobook, a news report, or a scene from a movie. It's helpful if you have a transcript. Step 1. Just listen. Listen to the clip a couple of times to get a feel for the rhythm and the overall message. Step 2. Listen and read. Play the audio again, but this time. Follow along with the transcript. This helps you connect the sounds you are hearing with the words on the page. Step 3. Shadow. This is the main event. Play the audio again, and this time, speak along with it. Try to start at the same time and finish at the same time. Don't worry if you stumble or can't keep up at first. That's part of the process. Just keep trying. Your goal is to imitate the speaker's music, the ups and downs of their voice, the way they connect their words, the places they stress. Shadowing directly trains the physical muscles of your mouth and tongue to produce the sounds and rhythms of English. It also helps you internalize grammar and sentence structure without consciously thinking about rules. You are learning by absorbing and imitating, which is how we all learned our first language. Another essential practice is the record and review method. This can be a little intimidating, but it provides the most valuable feedback you will ever get because it's completely personalized to you. All you need is your phone. Choose a simple topic. For example, describe what you did yesterday, or talk about your favorite hobby, or explain your job to a child. Then, hit record and speak for 1 or 2 minutes. Just talk freely. After you're done, it's time for the review. Listen back to your recording. This is your chance to be a detective. Listen for the pauses. Where did you hesitate? Try to figure out why. Was it because you were searching for a word? If so, what was the word? Look it up afterward. Was it because you were unsure of a grammar point? Make a note of that grammar point to study later. How was your use of filler words? Did you use and a lot? Or did you use some of the more sophisticated fillers we talked about? How was your pacing? Did you speak too slowly or too fast? Did you use any linking sounds? This self-analysis is incredibly powerful. You are not waiting for a teacher to correct you. You are becoming your own teacher. You can hear your own progress over time. The first time you do it, you might be critical of yourself. But if you do it once a week, you will start to hear the improvement. You will hear your pauses getting shorter. You will hear your speech becoming more connected. This is concrete proof that your hard work is paying off, which is a huge motivator. Of course, we need to engage in actual conversations, but the fear of judgment can be strong. That's why I recommend starting with low-stakes conversations. These are speaking situations where the pressure is very low or non-existent. A great way to start is by talking to AI. Modern voice assistants or chatbot apps are perfect for this. You can ask them questions, have simple conversations, and practice expressing your ideas without any fear of being judged. They won't get impatient. They won't care if you make a mistake. Another option is to find a language exchange partner online, but be very clear from the beginning that you are looking for a relaxed, friendly chat, not a grammar lesson. The goal is just to practice the act of speaking. You can even practice by talking to yourself out loud. Describe what you are doing as you cook dinner. Tell a story to your pet. Explain a concept from a book to an empty chair. The goal of these low-stakes practices is to get your mouth moving and to build the habit of producing continuous speech. You are separating the mechanical act of speaking from the social pressure of conversation. Once you are comfortable just talking, it becomes much easier to do so when you are with other people. Finally, a great structured exercise is the 1-minute topic. This is a speaking drill to build your stamina. Choose a simple, random topic. It could be anything: bicycles, coffee, rain, shopping, your family. Set a timer for 1 minute. The challenge is to speak about that topic for the entire minute without stopping. You cannot pause for more than a second or two. It doesn't matter if what you say is brilliant. It doesn't matter if you repeat yourself. It doesn't even matter if you make mistakes. The only rule is keep talking. If you get stuck, use a filler word. Well, the thing about bicycles is, they are a great way to get around. If you can't think of a word, paraphrase, they have two wheels and a thing you sit on and pedals for your feet. This exercise forces you to use all the strategies we've discussed, thinking on your feet, using fillers, and paraphrasing. It trains you to push through moments of uncertainty instead of stopping. It builds your mental and verbal endurance so that when you are in a longer, real life conversation, you have the stamina to keep going. By combining shadowing, recording yourself, engaging in low stakes practice, and doing structured drills like the 1-minute topic, you are creating a comprehensive training program. You are tackling the problem from all angles: the physical, the mental, and the practical. This is how you move from knowing English into using English fluently and without hesitation. We have covered a lot of ground. We've talked about the reasons we pause, the techniques to create smooth speech, and the practical exercises to build fluency. But there is one final piece of the puzzle, and it might be the most important of all. It's the mindset shift. It's about changing the way you think about speaking English. Without the right mindset, all the techniques in the world will only take you so far. The first and most critical shift is to prioritize communication over perfection. Let me say that again. The goal is communication, not perfection. The purpose of language is to share ideas, to connect with another person, to express a feeling, or to get information. It is not to produce a grammatically perfect script. So many learners are paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake. But think about it. If you say, "Yesterday I go to the cinema," is it grammatically perfect? Is the message 100% clear? Yes. The person you are talking to understands you perfectly. The small grammar error did not stop communication. However, if you say, "Yesterday, I, um, I dot dot dot," and then stop because you are worried about the verb tense, communication has failed. A flawed sentence that is spoken is infinitely better than a perfect sentence that remains unspoken in your head. You must give yourself permission to be imperfect. Forgive your own mistakes. See them not as failures, but as signs that you are trying, that you are pushing yourself, that you are using the language. When you let go of the need to be perfect, a huge weight is lifted, and your speech will naturally become more relaxed and fluid. To help with this, you need to develop a superpower: paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is the art of saying something in a different way. This is the ultimate tool to defeat the vocabulary search pause. When you are in a conversation and you can't find that one perfect word, you have two choices. You can stop and have an awkward silence, or you can paraphrase. Fluent speakers do this all the time, often without even realizing it. Let's say you're telling a story and you can't remember the word crowded. Instead of freezing, you can paraphrase. You could say, "The market was, there were so many people there. You could hardly move." You have communicated the exact same idea without ever using the word crowded. Let's try another one. You can't remember the word complicated. You could say the instructions were, they were not very simple. There were a lot of steps. You see, paraphrasing is your escape hatch. It's your way around any vocabulary roadblock. To practice this, give yourself challenges. How would you describe a computer without using the words computer, screen, or keyboard? You might say, it's an electronic machine that you use for work or to find information online. It has a part that you type on and a part that shows pictures. Practicing this skill will make you a more creative and resourceful speaker, and it will give you the confidence to know that you can always find a way to express your idea. Even if you don't have the perfect word, finally, all of this is supported by building genuine confidence through positive self talk. The confidence crisis we spoke about earlier is a real barrier. The voice in your head that says, my English is bad, or they are going to laugh at me, is your biggest enemy. You must actively fight that voice. You need to become your own cheerleader. When you successfully use a new chunk in a conversation, celebrate that small win. When you record yourself and notice you paused less than last week, acknowledge that progress. Replace negative thoughts with positive, realistic ones. Instead of, I will never be fluent, tell yourself, every day I practice, my speaking gets a little smoother. Instead of, I'm afraid to talk, tell yourself, I am brave for using my English, and it's okay to make mistakes. This isn't about pretending you're a perfect speaker. It's about recognizing your effort and your growth. Your confidence is like a muscle. The more you use it, even in small ways, the stronger it will get. And remember, fluency is a journey. It is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be good days when your words flow effortlessly. And there will be frustrating days when you feel like you are back at the beginning. This is normal. It is part of the process. The key is patience and consistency. The person who practices their internal monologue for 10 minutes every day will become more fluent than the person who studies for 5 hours one day and then does nothing for a month. Be kind to yourself, trust the process, celebrate your progress as no matter how small. So, as we come to the end of our time together, let's bring everything back into focus. We have learned that pausing is not a sign of failure but a symptom of specific mental habits, like translating in your head and searching for perfection. We have discovered the key to overcoming this, retraining your brain to think directly in English through techniques like the internal monologue. We've armed ourselves with the tools of fluent speakers, sophisticated filler words, and the power of chunking to build bridges over any mental gaps. We've laid out a training plan with active practice like shadowing and recording to build real-world skill. And most importantly, we have embraced a new mindset, one that values communication over perfection, uses paraphrasing as a superpower, and builds confidence day by day. The path to speaking English fluently without pausing is now clear before you. It is not a secret or a magic trick. It is a combination of understanding, technique, practice, and mindset. Your journey starts now. It starts with one small step. Today, maybe you will try narrating your evening activities to yourself in English. Or maybe you will choose one filler word, like well ... and consciously use it in your next conversation. Or perhaps you will find a short audio clip and try shadowing for just 1 minute. Whatever you choose, just start. Thank you so much for joining me, Jennifer, here at English in Advance. I believe in your ability to achieve this goal. Be patient, be consistent, and be proud of every word you speak. You are on your way to becoming a confident, fluent, and unstoppable English speaker. Keep practicing, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.